Hi, my name is Beth Heile here at Cat and Mouse Game Store in Chicago, Illinois on a Friday afternoon. And I say that specifically because we're going to do a rules overview of Friday. Published here in the United States by Rio Grande Games, and the designer is Friedemann Friese. You might know him as the designer of Power Grid. And just as a fun little side note, all of his games actually begin with the letter F, just like his name. And if you say, wait a minute, Power Grid does not begin with an F, it does in German as Funkenschlag. Back to Friday. Friday is for one player. That's it. This is a solo game. Just one player and one player only. Your games are pretty quick, clocking in at around 15 minutes each, but a warning that they are extremely addictive. It's based on the story of Robinson Crusoe, where you play the character of Friday as he attempts to explore the island and beat back pirates in an effort to get off the island. So let's take a look at this unique solo adventure game. First, let's talk about setup. Learning the different cards in this game is probably the hardest part, particularly since all of the backs are exactly the same on these. So once you get these sorted up into individual piles, it gets a lot easier. First, we're going to find all the hazard cards. They have this stoplight symbol of green, yellow, and red on one half. And for the moment, we're going to be placing those on the hazard storage spot, which has that same stoplight symbol. Second, you're going to find all the aging cards. They have a blue background instead of a jungle background. And there's two types, those that have a white face on the bottom and those that have a black face on the bottom. And we're going to sort those out into two separate piles in a moment. Finally, you'll have the Robinson cards. They are green on the top and have a fence on the bottom, and you can just shuffle those up. So we'll shuffle up our Robinson cards, shuffle up our hazard cards. And our aging cards, we have to set them up a little bit more specifically. First of all, I'm going to give you the instructions for the basic level difficulty, the simplest edition. So you're going to find the very stupid card that is actually its name. It has a -3 value. You're going to be removing it from the game because we're going to start off a little bit easier. Then you're going to find the 3 cards that have a white face. They are a little bit harder than the rest. They're going to go on the bottom, so just mix those up. And then all the ones with a black face are going to go on the top because he's not as old yet. His hair is still black. And those will go on the top. And to review those one more time because they're a little bit confusing. Hazards, aging, Robinson. You have two more piles of cards. Pirates, which luckily look nice and different from everything else, and the phases. Put the red on the bottom, then yellow, then green. Finally, you're going to pull out 20 life tokens, and you'll be left with 2, which you can just keep in the box for now. And now, we're ready to start. To get the game going, we're first going to draw 2 pirate cards. Luckily, they look a lot different than the rest of the cards. These are the 2 pirates that you have to beat at the end of the game to win. Now, our aging cards, we're just going to slide those up and away for a moment. We don't need those quite yet. And our pirates, we're just going to put along the side. You can look at them the whole game so you know what you need to beat, but we don't have to access them at all. The first thing we do need to do, though, is figure out what our first hazard is. Those hazard cards, again, are the ones over here on the stoplight board. We're going to be drawing 2 and picking which one we would like to encounter. The hazards are, again, that stoplight side. You can just ignore the Robinson side for the moment. Since we are in the green face, you're going to be looking at the green number. That is the point total that you need to meet or exceed to win against that hazard. So our 2 choices are exploring the island, which is going to take 1 point, and use the raft to go to the wreck, which takes 0 points. So obviously that one would be pretty easy, but we're going to explore the island to keep it interesting. Whatever card you don't pick, you're just going to put over here to the side as a discard. Now luckily you get to draw some fighting cards. Those are these Robinson cards over here, and you get to draw some for free. There's a number in this white box, and that tells you how many you get to draw for free. And in this card it says 2. So we will draw 2 Robinson cards for free. We have a 0 and another 0, so not helpful. We do not have enough points to beat this hazard. I have a choice. I can now choose to lose this hazard, or at a cost of 1 life point per card, I can draw some additional cards. So I say, yeah, let's go fishing a little bit. I'm gonna discard 1 life and draw 1 additional card. And this one is going to go on the right side of our hazard, and that is important. And I drew a focus card, which is worth 1 point. Hooray! That is enough to beat that hazard. At any time, as you're flipping over cards, whether they be the free ones that you place on the left side or the bought and paid for ones that you place on the right side, if any of them have a special power, which is going to be listed right here above the fence, you can opt to use the card for its power, which means you will not get to use it for its points. This card, the second 0 here, is eating, and it does allow me to get +2 life, so more of these little green tokens. And since that card is not helping me anyway, I'm going to tap it, just like in Magic or other card games. And now I'm going to take 2 additional life tokens. And guess what? I still win the hazard, so that's pretty nice. Whenever you win a hazard, you're going to take that hazard card and you're going to bring it over here to your discard pile by your fighting cards. This now gets added to your fighting deck. And whenever this card comes up again, you're going to get to use it on its skill side. Inevitably, these are way better than the ones that you started with. So that's why it's worth winning against hazards. However, if you did not win against the hazard, you're going to be losing life. If I ended up with 0 points against this hazard, I lose life equal to the difference between the hazard and the amount that I am missing. So if my hazard was 4 points and I only got 2 points, I would lose 2 life. I would lose whatever part I am missing from that total. But I did win, so it's going to go over here with me, and all the cards that I used also get discarded. And now I have completed my first hazard. Now I'm going to draw my next hazard, and again, it's going to be a choice of 2. And off we go again. Now let's talk about what happens when you run out of cards from one of these 2 piles, your hazard deck or your Robinson deck. It's also called your fighting cards in the rule book. And guess what? Whatever you run out of that deck, the board underneath actually tells you what to do. So it's a great visual reminder of what comes next. So when your hazard cards run out, when you are unable to draw the 2 that are needed, at that point you're going to increase the difficulty level. So you're going to go from the green level to the yellow level. So you're just going to put that yellow level up as a reminder. Shuffle these guys all up again. These would be all the cards you either discarded or lost. And now you have another set of hazards to draw from, and you're going to continue the game. However, this time you're always going to be reading the yellow value, which is always higher and more difficult than the green value. And when we run out of this pile again, you're going to go from yellow to red. And now be reading the values for the red circles, which are even harder still. And when you go through that pile a 3rd time, at that point, you're immediately going to go into the battle with the pirates. And we'll talk about that next. Now, when your fighting cards run out, well, unfortunately, that means that Friday and Robinson Crusoe have been doing a lot of work. And unfortunately, they're going to get older. So it tells you here that when you need to shuffle these up, you're going to add in 1 aging card. And that's why we set up this aging deck before. Remember, those 3 white-haired cards are on the bottom and the rest of the brown-haired cards are on the top. We're going to take 1 card off the top of the stack and shuffle it up into our fighting cards. And now you would draw them as normal. That happens at any point you're supposed to draw fighting cards and there are none available. You're going to scoop up all those discards Add in one aging card, which are these blue ones, and unfortunately they are always bad. And then reshuffle them up and create a new draw deck for your fighting cards. Hopefully you have some good hazard cards that you've defeated that you've put in that deck to help offset all of these really awful aging cards. Every time this deck runs out, you're going to add in a new aging card. When this deck runs out, don't worry about it. You don't age anymore, luckily, because the game is hard enough. Now let's talk about some pirates. To help make the whole game a little bit easier, you have two powers that allow you to augment your strength. First, at the end of a hazard battle, whether it be successful or failed, you can opt to spend life to destroy cards. It means you remove them forever from the game. Destroying a regular fighting card with a green background costs you 1 life. And destroying an aging card with a blue background costs you 2 life, which is why they give you those little support symbols at the top corner there. But it can be really powerful to get rid of some of these negative value cards, particularly since some of the aging cards go up to -5. So if it might be worth that 1 life point to get rid of a card that potentially could haunt you multiple times. The second helper that you have are some special powers. Many of these special powers are found on the fighting card half of conquered hazards that get shuffled into your fighting deck when you win against that hazard. They're printed here right below Robinson's face. As I mentioned before, if you opt to use that special power, you're going to tap the card, whether it be on the left side or the right side of the hazard, and to indicate that you're using it for the power and not for its point total. So you can only use it for points or power, not both. There's a really good breakdown of what all the special powers do in the rulebook, but I'm just going to give you 3 examples. +2 cards means you get to draw another 2 fighting cards for free, and they're going to go on the right side of the hazard. 1 destroy, it means you get to destroy a card for free. You're just going to flip it over during the middle of this fight and then remove it from the game at the end of the fight. Or copy 1 card, which basically means you could clone the power of another card. So I could draw 2 cards and then use my copy card to draw another 2 cards and hopefully be able to draw enough cards to win against a really big fight. All those are going to help you make some really interesting strategic decisions that hopefully will allow you to win the game. Pirate cards are just like really awful hazards. They have a point total that you have to beat, and they have a white box here that tells you how many fighting cards you get to draw for free. Some of them also have additional text that's going to tweak the rules of this battle a little bit. For example, this card derives its strength from how many aging cards you display. So unfortunately, the older you are, the harder these pirates are, which is an interesting balance. Just like hazards, you're going to pick which one that you would like to fight first. You're then going to draw the appropriate amount of fighting cards for free, and then you may sacrifice life to draw additional cards. Unfortunately, you may not opt to lose this fight the way you can with regular hazards. In regular hazards, if you opt to lose, you're just going to lose some life. But in this, you're going to have to just keep paying life to draw more cards until you are successful. If you run out of life, unfortunately, at any point in this game, it's most likely probably to happen here, then you die and you lose. If you successfully beat this pirate, you're going to go immediately into the second pirate. And you're going to repeat that process. If you successfully beat this pirate, hooray! Robinson Crusoe has successfully left the island and you win. I hope you have freaky fun playing Friday on a Friday afternoon. And if you're looking for other solo player adventures, I definitely have a few other options for you. Surprisingly, there's quite a few games that you can play by yourself as a board game. Most notably is Onirum, and my apologies and a disclaimer if I'm pronouncing this wrong. This is a solo player card game where you're trying to escape from a labyrinth before time runs out, aka before the deck runs out. Also extremely addictive and worth trying if you haven't picked that one up yet. Now, while not a board game per se, the classic set can be played by yourself, where you're just trying to beat your own best score. How many sets can you find within a certain time period? And you can even take away points if you have to add cards to your rows if you can't find a set. So you can tweak your own house rules to make this a solo player challenge. Any cooperative game can also be played as a solo game, such as Pandemic, Forbidden Island, Ghost Stories, or Flashpoint. So anytime you have a co-op game, you could play that solo. But if you're looking for something a little bit meatier, why don't you pull out Agricola, which is considered a hallmark European strategy game, but it also has solo player rules as well. In fact, any game that's in the Agricola series, such as Le Havre or the newest and Labora, all have solo player rules where you try and beat your own best score. So if you're hungering for a good meaty strategy game, check out this series as well. But I say, don't play a game by yourself. Come down here to Cat and Mouse and play a game with us first. Then you can buy a solo player game and take that with you to play at home. Either way, come into the store and buy a game.